Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I have another mukbang for you guys. Here I have some black bean paste noodles. I'm gonna eat these, and while I enjoy this heaping amount of noodles, I'll be talking about the story of the Van Breda murders. Let me taste these noodles first. This is so yummy. Okay, so this case starts in South Africa, and as you guys may know or may not know, South Africa has a very high crime rate. There's a lot of people being murdered every day. And in South Africa, the Van Breda family lived. The family consisted of the two parents called Teresa and Martin Van Breda. They had 3 kids, the youngest being Molly, and then Henry. And then the older brother is called Rudy. Rudy was 2 years older than Henry, and Molly was 4 years younger than Henry was. After a very tragic event, 3 of the family members had been murdered. On the 27th of January in 2015, 3 of the family members had been murdered. They had been brutally murdered in their own house. So I'm going to tell you guys a little backstory of what had happened before this tragic event took place. So the two parents, Teresa and Martin, they had 3 kids, and Henry was one of them. Henry was born in 1994 in Pretoria in their home in South Africa. When Henry turned 11, their parents decided to move to Australia, and they moved to Perth. The family had lived there a couple of years, and then a little bit later, when Henry's older brother Rudy was going off to college, they had been living there for a couple of years, and then Rudy decided to move to Melbourne to follow an engineer master at the University of Melbourne. A little bit later, Henry, who was 2 years younger than Rudy, decided to also follow in the steps of his brother and move to Melbourne to attend the same university to study a master in physics. After the 2 boys had moved to Melbourne, the parents decided to move closer to the boys. So around the same time Henry moves to Melbourne to attend this university, the parents and Molly also move so that they can be closer to their boys. In January in 2014, the parents decide that they want to move back to South Africa. This decision was made because the dad was a wealthy business owner, and he had noticed that it had become more and more difficult to run his business from Australia, as the business was situated in South Africa. That was a main decision for them to move back, but then also they were missing their friends and family, and they wanted to reunite with the rest of their family in South Africa again. So in 2014, they moved back to South Africa, and they moved to Stellenbosch. They bought a house in this super, super pretty, wealthy golf estate. They had bought a luxury home in the gated Del Zazi, which is in Stellenbosch. It's a little bit in the outskirts of Stellenbosch. And then not long after, Henry decided to take a gap year. And a couple of months before Henry's birthday, he moves into the house of his parents in South Africa. Soon after Henry had moved into his parents' house, Rudy moved there 2 months later because he was on a summer break and he wanted to visit his parents. So in this summer, the whole family was reunited and they were all living in this home in Stellenbosch at this golf estate. It's a super, super pretty golf estate, very wealthy and very, very well secured. They had guards 24 hours and they had a very high electric fence around the whole complex. So they were all there and they lived with each other for a couple of months. And then Monday, the 22nd of January, everyone comes home. Henry arrives at home at like 6. The whole family, they sit down together to have a family supper together. Molly had been doing homework for school. She was still in high school. And Molly was 16 at the time. Henry was 20 and his older brother must have been 22, 23. So after they finished their dinner, they cleaned up the table together. His dad Martin was doing a little bit of work after dinner. And the mom, Teresa, she was cleaning the kitchen. Molly had been upstairs doing homework and the boys were just playing games or something like that. Then the parents go to their bedroom very early and they go to sleep, or at least to like get ready to sleep at around 9 p.m. And Molly had already been upstairs in her room. The boys, they both were still downstairs. They were watching TV, and they had been watching Star Trek, the movie. Around 10 or 11, Henry's brother Rudy decides to go to bed. So he goes upstairs, gets ready for bed. And then Rudy was still on the couch playing games and he had very much trouble to fall asleep. He went upstairs to get ready for bed at around 1 a.m. in the morning and he was having a lot of trouble falling asleep. He was trying to play music to maybe help him fall asleep. So he finally gets a little bit more sleepier and he goes to his bathroom to get ready for bed. Suddenly, he heard banging noises inside of the house, outside of the bathroom. And this was very unexpected sounds. So he heard these banging noises and rushes out of the bathroom to see what is happening. He hears his brother Rudy like shouting and screaming in his bedroom. So Rudy goes over to his dad who was sleeping and tells him to look what's happening. So Henry's dad turns on the light in the boys' bedroom because Henry and Rudy, they slept together in the same room, so it was like the boys' room. So the dad had turned on the light, and as soon as they turned on the light, they could see that someone was bashing into Rudy's head with an axe. There was blood everywhere, and as soon as the person who was banging the axe in Rudy's head saw the dad, he started banging in dad's head. So his dad was being attacked by the axe, and then Henry rushes to the bathroom and he couldn't do anything. He was so in shock that he couldn't move, he couldn't do anything. He was so scared of the whole situation, that's why he couldn't really move. Yeah, so Henry was super scared. He had just seen this person wearing a black mask with like holes in the eyes and maybe around the mouth, bashing an axe into his dad's and brother's head. He had seen blood everywhere, and then Henry said that he went back in the room to check up on his family and had this interaction with this person in this mask. Henry was surprised how easy it was to take the axe from this person, because Henry had tried to grab his arm, and that was actually easier than he thought it was. This person wasn't focused on Henry, so he had grabbed the axe. As he grabbed the axe and as Henry got a hold of the axe, the person in the mask, he grabs a knife out of his pocket and starts slicing Henry in his chest and in his arms and in his tummy. So Henry is trying to fight off this guy in this mask, and he's being sliced, and he had been hit with the axe maybe 2 times in his chest. But when he got a hold of the axe, he started hitting this person in this mask with the axe, and he had hit the person in the mask at his right shoulder, and as soon as he hit the axe right there, he couldn't move that arm, and he let go of the knife that he was slicing Henry with. As soon as that happened, the attacker, he tried to run away. Henry still had the axe in his hands, and Henry said that he had thrown the axe towards this attacker while he was running down the stairs. And when the attacker ran down the stairs, Henry follows the attacker to make sure that he had left or not. And while he ran downstairs, and when he came to the first floor, he had seen his mom and his sister for the first time with very, very severe head wounds from the axe. So they had also been killed by this attacker. The attacker then runs away and is out of sight, and Henry starts realizing what had just happened. The first thing Henry does is call his girlfriend, and his girlfriend, I think, was still in Australia. So he had called his girlfriend the first thing, and then he started Googling online for emergency numbers. He had Googled these emergency numbers, but then he lost conscious, and he lost his conscious for about two hours or something like that. So he was unconscious for 2 hours, but then when he woke up again, he called the emergency number and got into contact with this woman. The emergency was a pain in the ass because she wasn't taking him very serious, and also she wasn't very cooperative. So she had been asking him like maybe more than 5 times what their address was, and telling him that she couldn't find it. It just seemed very unprofessional in a way. I'll insert a little voice memo of the call between Henry and this woman from the emergency. So then you can understand a little bit better how frustrating this call was for Henry.
107, what is your emergency?
Yeah. I need an ambulance. Lots of
You need an ambulance?
Yes, please.
What's your name, sir?
Henry from Breda.
Henry. What's the
Yes.
contact number you're phoning from?
My home phone number, but I'm not sure what the home phone number is. My cell phone. We're at 12 Husker Street, please.
What is this number that you're phoning from? Is there someone else that can speak if you're not able to?
No,
Who else is in the house?
there's no one else. Everyone
I
else
need the
is...
contact number, please.
Yeah, okay. 021
021
8800
8800
493.
493. And you need the ambulance to go to what?
Number 12 Husker Street.
Hoskes.
Husker. G-O-S-K-E.
G-O-S. What area is this?
It's in Stellenbosch, and it's in the Zolta estate.
Number 12, Hoskes Street in
Yes.
Stellenbosch.
Yes.
I'm not picking it up for Stellenbosch. I'm picking it up for Boertesig Milnerton.
We're in the Zolta winelands. It's an estate. D-E, and another word, Z-A-L-Z-E.
D-E-Z-A-L-Z-E.
Yeah, D-E.
I'm not picking it up, for Stellenbosch. What area in Stellenbosch are you in?
I don't know. That's all that. We're in Zolta winelands. It's an estate. It's a security estate.
Are you sure it's 12 Hoskes Street?
Yes,
Hoskes
absolutely.
is in Boertesig Milnerton, eh? And you're saying you out in Stellenbosch.
Yes.
What? And you don't know what area in Stellenbosch?
I'm not sure how much more specific I need to be.
What? And you, the patient?
No. My family is... Someone attacked my family.
Hey?
Someone has attacked my family in my house.
Okay, so you need the police or the ambulance.
And an ambulance, please. Yes.
Now, who is injured?
I think everyone.
Everyone in your house?
Everyone, 4 people, yes.
Adults, 2 adults?
2 adults and 3 adults and 1 teenage girl, yes.
What are the injuries?
Head injuries.
Are they conscious?
I don't think so. My sister's moving, but that's it.
Suspects still on scene, there, sir?
Sorry?
Are there any suspects on scene?
No.
What an act. Okay, stay on the line. I'm going to speak to the police.
Thank you, but please send an ambulance as quickly as possible.
Yes.
They'll send the ambulance out as soon as possible. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Bye.
Okay.
Eventually, after like a 25-minute emergency call, the lady on the phone tells him that they are going to send ambulance and everything right now. So they send over an ambulance. Henry is the only one that's cautious. But while he was speaking on the phone, he noticed that his sister Molly was still moving. So she was still alive. So they rushed her immediately to the emergency room. But the dad, the mom, and his older brother Rudy, they were declared dead. After this event, the police was starting to look into the case and trying to figure out who it was and how it happened. And so they immediately turned to Henry for help because he had been the only eyewitness to see this whole thing happening. So Henry tells everything to the police, everything that he had seen. He had put time stamps on everything that had happened. He also explained the whole thing that he was unconscious for like 2 hours. Then he woke up and he called the emergency and the whole timeline of that night. The police are thinking that this attacker might have been a member of the Balaclava gang. The Balaclava were these gang members that wear balaclavas, and they were linked to at least 60 burglaries. They all wore masks. That's why the police thought that this might have been a member of the Balaclava gang. But then the police soon realized that it couldn't have been a member of this gang because nothing was stolen, while this family was very, very wealthy and all of their expensive belongings were on the first floor. So it was kind of weird that this attacker would have made this effort to go upstairs, kill everyone, while he could have also just had stolen a bunch of stuff downstairs. So for the police, it didn't make sense to them that it could have been a member of the Balaclava gang. So after they shut that out, they were looking for other possible suspects. Then the detectives and the police, they quickly realized a few things. So, first of all, the weird thing is there were no valuables stolen. So that made it a cold-blooded murder. Also, if there was another person involved, there would have been like steps or fingerprints from someone else's DNA at the crime scene. Then also, the murder weapon, which were the axe and the knife, were from inside the home. So whoever did this did not bring their own weapon, but used the axe that already was in the family home and a knife from a knife collection that the family owned. Which is strange because if you wanted to kill someone, it would be much more logical to bring your own weapon and then make sure that no one finds the murder weapon, right? Because it would have had your DNA on it. So after all these conclusions that the police made, the focus shifts on Henry. Because he had been the only one that survived and he was the only eyewitness that was there. In June 2016, the police informs Henry's lawyers that they are going to press charges against Henry. It was starting to become clear that there was quite a lot of evidence pointing out that Henry might have been the killer. The first thing was that the neighbors told the police that when Henry had informed the police that they were watching Star Trek, they weren't actually watching Star Trek. The neighbors had heard people fighting, like argument noises, just some kind of argument was going on. And at the time that the neighbors said that this had happened, which was around 10, Henry stated to the police that they were watching the movie. So it became clear to the police that Henry's stories had a few holes. Also, why, if there was someone from outside who murdered them, why would they use the axe and a knife from inside the house as murder weapons? That just doesn't make sense. If you are planning to kill someone, wouldn't you come prepared? If there was some kind of burglary happening, they would carry their own weapon, right? That would make a lot more sense. So that didn't sit well with the police. Then also blood from his mom, sister, dad, and his brother was found on his clothes. They just found blood from all of them on his body. Then Henry's lawyers convinced Henry that he should turn himself in. So Henry turns himself in and then trial begins. The trial begins on the 24th of April in 2017. So Henry turns himself in, and another piece of evidence against Henry came forth when a specialist confirmed that the wounds on his own body, the attacker had also hit Henry, right? And he had slices on his chest and in his tummy. The wounds that he had on his body were nowhere as bad as the ones that his sister had and the rest of his family that died from these injuries. They were very light injuries, and they were all placed in areas which he could reach. So nothing on his back, nothing there. So this specialist confirmed that these injuries were actually self-inflicted. She confirmed that he had inflicted the injuries on himself. So now, when Henry turned himself in, he had 3 counts of murder on his name, 1 attempted murder. He had tampered with the evidence, and then he also had obstruction of justice on his name. So then Henry pleads not guilty of all of these charges that were pushed towards. And then also, all of this time after the murders had happened, he had put out this new statement. But the weird thing is that this new statement of his was not the same as the statement that he gave to the police just after the murders had happened. There were a lot of inconsistencies in his story. And because Henry was trying to put the blame on the Balaclava gang, so in his new statement he had mentioned that the attacker was black, so he had mentioned his race, but in the previous statement he did not mention his race. Then also in his first statement that he had signed, in his first statement he'd said that there was 1 attacker, but in this new statement he mentioned that he had heard angry voices, being multiple people. There were just a lot of holes in his story, a lot of inconsistencies, which made him not only the only witness, but a witness that they could not trust. And also what I had mentioned earlier is that the complex that they had lived in was surrounded by these very, very high electric shocking fences. They were super high and it would have been very difficult to climb up. But then also there was security 24/7. So if someone had broken into the complex, it would have been noted and seen for sure. And the security confirms that there had been no one that had broken in to the complex. And then again, Henry's injuries were confirmed they were self-inflicted. And also, someone had been trying to wash objects from the murder scene in the shower. Whereas Henry had said that no one had entered the bathroom during everything that had happened. And then on the 31st of October, Henry takes the stand. While he was on the stand, he would quote things from his statement, literally word by word. It was very strange. And then they had asked him to reenact the whole thing that happened. They asked him to reenact the scene where the attacker was attacking him with the axe and the knife. And he specifically could reenact everything step by step, and it almost seemed like he had studied this whole thing. Because just imagine if you had this traumatic experience where you had lost your entire family, and then you were also like stabbed and injured by someone, wouldn't you be like very emotional about having to reenact this whole thing? When Henry takes the stand, it becomes more clear that there are just too many holes in his story. It doesn't match up to the first statement that he stated, and it just becomes very clear that it doesn't make sense. Then on the 7th of July in 2017, Henry had 3 life sentences on his name, a 15-year sentence for trying to kill his sister, and then added to that another year for obstruction of justice. So the reason why he killed his family is not clear at all. There's different theories of his motive to do this. One of the motives that had been mentioned in articles was that Henry might have gotten into a fight with the older brother, and because of his past with this wealthy family, he might have not learned to be responsible for certain things happening. So what a few people think happened is he got into a huge argument with his brother over some family issue that they've been dealing with for longer. They got into a heavy argument, and in that moment Henry might have been so angry that he thought in his head at the very moment that the only solution would be to kill his brother. So then he goes on killing his brother with this axe that was in the house. Killed his brother. Then the dad rushes to the room, and as soon as Henry realizes that the dad is noticing what happened, Henry probably might have had in his head, okay, if I don't murder my dad, I have to accept that I kill my brother. So Henry goes on killing his dad and then the rest of the family. So that's one theory of why he had killed his family. Then there had also been rumors that Henry might have been addicted to some drug. I don't think this is true, but there were a lot of rumors going around that he might have been addicted. But I think he honestly, I don't know, to me it seems a bit vague that he just got angry and killed his brother because he was angry at his brother. Also, the weird thing to me is he had called his girlfriend right after everything had happened. Before even calling the police, he had called his girlfriend. She didn't pick up though. And then when he was sentenced and when he went to prison, he kept in contact with his girlfriend, and it seemed like they loved each other a lot. She and Henry's aunt did not believe that he could have done such a thing, so they keep supporting Henry. And then Henry and his girlfriend even stay in contact and write letters to each other while he is sitting out the sentence. So I don't know. I'm very curious what his actual motive was. Please leave in the comments if you have any addition to this story, because I would love to hear about anything that I did not get. So if there's anything you know about this case, please leave it in the comments below. And please leave in the comments what you think was Henry's motive to kill his family. He seemed like a very normal guy, very loving, very caring for his family. His girlfriend even mentioned that he thought that he would rather cause harm to himself than see his family in pain. So I don't know, it seems a bit off. One of the things that the police said, which I thought was a good point, is that there were people that did not want to accept that he had killed his family because that would have meant that this very normal, regular guy killed his family, and that he was not some kind of sociopath. He did not have any tragic family history or anything tragic happening to him growing up. So he is a very normal guy. So the police think that there were people that did not want to believe this, because if they would accept it and believe that he had killed his family, it would mean that literally anyone with a loving family could do that. So I don't know, please leave in the comments what your thoughts are on this story. These noodles were literally so yummy. I've been talking so much that I didn't really even talk about my food, but these black bean noodles are literally fire. Highly recommend them. I enjoyed my meal. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please click on that subscribe button if you haven't already. Please leave in the comments below what you would like to see, or if there's any case that you want me to talk about on this channel. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and see you next time.